Again, if anybody's waiting for the food, we are going to serve it a little bit after we're done with the Q&A, and again, it's only for the ones who attended the event. Jazakallah. So again, if anybody has any questions.
No, turn it this way.
Do you want to start off?
Go ahead. Just give us a little recap of what we.
Okay, so the first question is, we're talking about matters that break the fast. He asked in terms of vaping, which is a new thing for me. First time I ever heard that. And this is, I'm guessing, the e-cigarettes. I guess they have smart cigarettes. It's not actually a cigarette, but you're smoking through something. Nonetheless, there's still smoke that comes out as a result of that. And then, of course, he asked about masturbation or watching porn. Does these things break your fast? Very good question. As far as the vaping, as well as the masturbation, these two things break your fast. Number one, the masturbation breaks your fast. Ejaculation, that would be equivalent to a man having relations with his spouse. All right. This, in fact, breaks your fast. As we know, the hadith of the man who came to the Prophet ﷺ said, "O Messenger of Allah, halaktu, I destroyed myself." The Prophet ﷺ asked him, "Wama ahlaka?" What is it that is that serious that has destroyed you? He said, "Waqa'tu ala imra'ati fi nahari Ramadan," that I had sexual relations with my wife during the day of Ramadan. So the issue with sexual relations, that even if a man penetrates his wife, even if he doesn't ejaculate, he's broken his fast. Even if he doesn't ejaculate, he still broke his fast by mere penetration. As it relates to masturbation, if the person ejaculates al-mani, then he has broken his fast. This breaks the fast, and the person will be responsible for, number one, making tawbah, sincere repentance to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Number two, he has to make that day up. He has to make the day up after Ramadan. He has to make the day up. The scholars say that the only time that a person has to fast 60 consecutive days is when they break their fast through sexual relations. So if you break your fast through sexual relations with your spouse or whoever, then you have to make up the day that you destroyed, that you invalidated, and you have to fast 60 consecutive days. That means 60 days back to back, no break in between. As it relates to vaping, then the same would apply, the same ruling would apply to smoking a cigarette. Anything that you digest or you inhale that goes down the throat, then this is considered, this is something that breaks the fast. Whether it's cigarette smoke, whether it is e-cigarette, vaping, whatever you name it, the fact that you inhale and then you exhale the smoke out, this in fact breaks your fast. Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. Is marijuana haram? Let's go there. Because you have some Muslim youth who believe that marijuana is not illegal in Islam. It might be legal in certain states here in America, but in Islam it will always be illegal. I don't care what the government here, deems it to be, and our religion is illegal. How? Is there any ayah in the Quran that says that marijuana is haram? Absolutely. So where's the ayah? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran that whatever the messenger gives you, take it. And whatever the messenger prohibits you, stay away from it. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, كل مسكر خمر وكل خمر حرام. For all the Muslim intellectuals who say that marijuana is not haram, let me debunk all of your misconceptions and your misnomers right now. The Prophet ﷺ, in one sentence, he said, كل مسكر خمر. Everything that is muskir, everything that alters your mind, your natural mindset, is called muskir, a khamr. It's called khamr. So the word khamr, we usually translate it as alcohol. But khamr in the Arabic language is a generic term that applies to anything that alters your natural mind state. You guys follow? Anything that alters the natural mind state is called khamr. He said, "Kullu muskirin khamrun." That everything that alters your mind state is called khamr. And he said, "Wa kullu khamrin haram." And everything that is khamr is haram. Does that answer your question? So someone can say, well, that's the statement of the Prophet ﷺ. That's not in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, whatever the messenger gives you, take it. And whatever he prohibits you,
I think the sisters have a question. I think they...
Alright? And then Allah says, وَمَا يَنْتِقُ عَنِ الْهَوَىٰ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا وَحْيٌ يُوحَىٰ. Muhammad does not speak from his own accord. He only speaks revelation that was revealed to him. So, you know, anyone after that is just following their desires. Wallahu a'lam. Yes, go ahead.
There's a question from the sister side that want to ask, is handshaking haram for a sister to, during Ramadan fasting, does that break your fast?
With a man?
The opposite gender.
If a man shakes the hand of a woman or a woman shakes the hand of a man, vice versa in Islam, is this haram and does this break your fast? Okay. Twofold. Number one, yes, it is haram. The Prophet ﷺ, Aisha said that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ never touched the hand of a woman. Even when the women came to take shahada, give bay'ah, the Prophet ﷺ would accept it shafahiyan, would just accept it verbally. He would never shake the hand of the woman. The Prophet ﷺ said to touch the hand of a woman is worse than, is equivalent to holding hot coal in your hand. That is the equivalent of shaking the hand of a woman that is a non-mahram, non-family member. So as it relates to shaking the hand or touching the opposite sex in Islam, yes, it is haram. Does it break your fast? No, it does not break your fast. We have to differentiate between what is sinful and breaks your fast from what is just simply simple and doesn't actually break your fast.
What are the exact things that break the fast compared to those that just take away from the barakah of siyam?
During fasting, washing your mouth with Listerine or mouthwash, or brushing your teeth, is it okay?
These are saying, I want to empower so that we don't have to come every Ramadan and ask the same questions over and over again. And I get it, maybe some people have come of age now that weren't of age last year, and they're asking questions for knowledge purposes. Imam al-Bukhari, rahimahullah ta'ala, he has a chapter in Sahih Bukhari, the chapter of using the miswak and it not breaking the fast. The Prophet ﷺ used to fast in Ramadan and he would brush his teeth with the miswak. And if you've ever used the miswak, then you know that the miswak has water inside of it. If you bite down on the miswak, it's actually a branch or piece of a branch from the arak tree, that you know that there is water inside of it. Not only that, Imam al-Bukhari brings another chapter. The Prophet ﷺ used to make wudu and put water in his mouth while he was fasting. And obviously if you put water in your mouth and you spit it back out, there will be water residue still in your mouth that does not invalidate your fast. So the scholars use that to say that it is permissible to brush your teeth using toothpaste while you are fasting. There's nothing wrong with that, provided that you make sure that you clean your mouth out completely and that you don't swallow the toothpaste. As for using Listerine, the same ruling would apply, so as long as you can make sure you get that out of your mouth. However, that is dangerous because the Listerine has flavor to it, and sometimes it might be almost impossible to get all of that flavor out of your mouth. So I would suggest to stay away from using the Listerine and just stick to the toothpaste. Toothpaste is a necessity. Some people don't brush their teeth at all, and they walk around the whole month of Ramadan with their breaths, very foul. Right? Even the angels are offended by the foul odor that comes out of your mouth. The Prophet ﷺ said, إِنَّ الْمَلَائِكَةَ تَتَأَذَّى بِمَا يَتَأَذَّى بِهِ ابْنُ آدَمَ, that the angels are offended by the same things that offend the children of Adam. So you should not walk around without brushing your teeth the whole month of Ramadan under the guise of what Allah loves, the khuluf, فَمَ الصَّائِمْ أَحَبُّ إِلَى اللَّهِ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى مِنْ رِيحِ الْمِسْكِ, that the foul odor of the fasting person is more beloved to Allah than the fragrance of musk. Well, that is the fragrance of the fasting person's mouth is due to not having any food in his system, not because the person didn't brush their teeth. So we need to understand the hadith and what it actually means. What was the one? Hold on.
I was saying, what are the things that strictly break the fast compared to those that just make you lose the edge of it?
Okay, so good point. He said, what are the things that break your fast versus the things that subtract from the edge of the reward of the fast? And that's important because there are some things that we think invalidate the fast when in fact it doesn't necessarily invalidate the fast, but it would subtract from the fast. Like watching porn, right? Watching porn or looking at something that is haram doesn't necessarily break your fast. However, it severely subtracts from the reward of your fast. As the Prophet ﷺ, as we mentioned in the khutbah, where the Prophet ﷺ said, وَمَنْ لَمْ يَدَعْ بِخَوْلِ الزُّورِ وَعَمِلَ بِهِ وَالْكَذِبِ فَلَيْسَ لِلَّهِ حَاجَةٌ بِأَنْ يَدَعَ طَعَامَهُ وَشَرَابَهُ. That whoever does not leave off lying and giving false testimony and acting upon it, then Allah is not in need of him leaving off his fasting and leaving off food and drink. Meaning, if you still continue to commit sin while you are fasting, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of you leaving off your food and your drink, because leaving off the food and the drink is not the essence of fasting. The essence of fasting is to develop God consciousness, what we call taqwa. So if you are fasting and you're not gaining taqwa, then you are defeating your own purpose. You follow me? Leaving off food and drink is not the essence of fasting. Don't say I fasted because I didn't eat or drink anything all day long. Not eating and not drinking is just the vehicle that we are using to get to the real goal of fasting, which is taqwa. So if you are leaving off your food and your drink, but you're still engaging in actions that are haram, that are prohibited in Islam, then it is equivalent to you not fasting at all, which is to develop a higher frequency of God consciousness. You guys follow? That fasting has been prescribed for you as it was prescribed for those who came before you, so perhaps you may develop taqwa. Not because I didn't eat and drink all day long, so I fasted. Yeah, but you engaged in matters that were haram. You were backbiting. You were watching things on your computer, on your cell phone that were haram. You were engaging in other acts that were haram all day long. So while you may have gone through the ritual of fasting, the physical aspect of fasting, you miss out on the essence of the fast, which is to develop a higher level of God consciousness. You guys follow me? So while it doesn't necessarily break your fast, do you really have a reward for it? Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu ta'ala, he said, إِذَا سُمْتَ فَلْيَسُمْ سَمْعُكَ وَبَصَرُكَ وَلِسَانُكَ عَنِ الْحَرَامِ. And when you fast, let your eyes fast, let your ears fast, let your tongue fast from what is haram. So it's not just about leaving off food and drink. There's a spiritual level to fasting, and there's a physical level to fasting, just as it is with every other aspect of worship. One more?
Really quickly, I just want to piggyback off what our brother Shadeed mentioned. A lot of times we allow shaitan, Satan, to trick us into thinking that if you don't do something haram during the fasting hours, that we can do it at night. That's another deception of the shaitan as well, because just because you're doing something outside of the prescribed fasting hours, that doesn't make it okay. But the whole month of Ramadan is supposed to be a purging period for us to sift and rid ourselves of those foul things that Allah has made prohibited, regardless of whether it's during the daylight hours or not. And that's one of the you mentioned about. It's about heightening your frequency of your awareness of Allah and His supremacy over you and His right to tell you how to live. But oftentimes we allow ourselves to fall for the trap that we allow ourselves to rationalize that, okay, if I just sin at night and not during the daylight hours, then I'm good. So we have to get out of that mode as well, because you'll have people who, they won't do anything haram per se during the daylight hours, but as soon as Maghrib comes, they break their fast, they have their iftar, they hit in the club, or they hit in the weed spot, or they hit in the crack house, or they go into their baby mama house, whatever the case may be. And these are real things, these actually happen. And sometimes, ma'adallah, some sisters, they may go to their baby daddy house. These are real things, these are real vices and challenges that we have to face. And we can't pretend like these things are not real.
Or even after Ramadan. You say, okay, I'm going to be on my best behavior during Ramadan, and then when Ramadan is over, we'll turn up.
They celebrate.
The turn up is the day of the Eid, right? The turn up is the immediately after Ramadan is over. And the scholars say that one of the signs that you know that Allah has accepted your righteous deed is that you continue to do righteous deeds afterwards. Think about that. One of the telltale signs that your fasting in the month of Ramadan or your Hajj is accepted is that afterwards you continue to do righteous deeds. If you revert back to doing the same haram that you were doing after the deed is done, and that is usually a telltale sign that your act was ghayr maqbool, it was unacceptable to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Because good breeds good, and evil breeds evil, right? When you do good, you breed more good deeds. And when you do evil, you breed more. So if the intention was, I'm just going to fast and I'm going to be on my best behavior during the month of Ramadan, and then immediately after Ramadan is over, you revert back to the same behavior, then in fact, that is probably a telltale sign that your whole fasting was just about thirst and hunger. Wallahu a'lam.
After him, I got one last one, but I hope his is short. Okay.
And Sheikh Hatem and some of the other shuyukh that will be here between tomorrow and Sunday, inshallah ta'ala, some of the deep fiqh issues, inshallah, they're going to handle a lot of that. So you can save some of your questions, inshallah, for the next couple of days. It should be very interesting.
What is the minimum physical requirement, the body part that should be covered, otherwise it would invalidate the prayer?
Say it again.
What is the minimum requirement for the body parts to be covered, otherwise it would invalidate the prayer?
He said, what is the bare minimum of the... For the women, it is their entire body with the exception of their face and their hands. And I'll say that again, with the exception of their face and their hands. Because in some cultures, Muslim women think that it is okay to expose their feet while they're in their prayer. The Prophet ﷺ said, Al-mar'a kullaha awra, that the woman, her entire body is awra. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions in the ayat of hijab, إِلَّا مَا ظَهْرَ مِنْهَا, except what normally shows. And what normally shows is the hands and the face. Ala asah, indi, based upon the most preferable opinion, in my opinion. Alright, the face and the hands. The feet are not allowed to be exposed during the salah, because the feet is part of a woman's awrah. And if she exposes her feet, she runs the risk of her salah being invalid. As for the men, then the bare minimum of the men that are supposed to be covered is from the navel to the knees and the shoulders. From the navel to the knees, and at least, some of the scholars say at least one shoulder, which is why the exception is made during Hajj when you're wearing your rida, that one of the shoulders is uncovered, that you can actually pray like that, because the bare minimum is that at least one shoulder is covered. All right, so that is the bare minimum for a man. So for those of us young brothers who like to wear the jeans with the rips in them, all right, if they don't have a patch underneath, or if you don't have some cloth underneath the rips and your thigh is being exposed under those rips, you cannot pray in those jeans. You have to put an izar on or a thobe on top, or go and get you a patch, an iron-on patch that covers that area. Your thigh should be covered regardless, anyway. But nonetheless, or don't wear. Well, I mean,
the last question, inshallah, just try
don't want to stifle.
try to get us out of here with this one.
Go for it. That's what you. That floats your boat. Yeah.
So during the lecture, you guys spoke about how to stay away or how to tackle addictions. So how do you create good habits in the opportunity that we have these 30 days? How are we creating good habits? Things like consistency, realistic goals compared to overwhelming goals. Like, I'm going to memorize the whole Quran this month. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Things that are not realistic, and then we fall short after the first couple of days. We're like, I can't do this anymore.
Very good. He said, how do we create healthy habits in the month of Ramadan? The beauty of it is that in some sections of psychology, they say it takes 21 days to create a habit. So if you start in the beginning of Ramadan, then that means by the last 10 nights, you've created a habit. Beauty of it. I don't know. Right? By the last 10 nights of Ramadan, you've already created a habit that inshallah will stay with you after Ramadan is over. How do you create healthy habits? You start off small. If you change nothing, nothing will change. You understand? You can't just sit from a place and say, I want to do this or I want to do that. You have to put forth an effort. If you change nothing, nothing will change. The Prophet ﷺ, he said, "Man yatasabbar yusabbiruhu Allah." That whoever seeks to be patient, Allah will make him patient. But there has to be an ibda'. It has to be some effort on your part that begins with you, an initiative from you. Man yatasabbar yusabbiruhu Allah. Whoever seeks to be patient, Allah will make him patient. Right? He said, "Man yasta'fif yu'iffuhu Allah." Whoever seeks to be chaste and guard their chastity and their modesty, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will facilitate a path for them to guard their chastity and their modesty. Whoever seeks, man yastaghni yughnihi Allah. Now whoever seeks to be self-sufficient, then Allah will give you self-sufficiency. But it has to start with you. Going back to what Gareth mentioned about being ambitious, it has to start with you. That's number one. Number two, you have to find your niche. What is easy for you? What is easy for you is not going to be easy for me. What's easy for him is not going to be easy for him. Stop comparing yourself to what other people are doing and find what is easy for you to do. The scholars, they say, "Man burika lahu fi shay'in falyalzim." Whoever finds doing a particular deed easy for them, let them stick to it. Bilal ibn Abi Rabah, the Prophet ﷺ said he heard his footsteps in Jannah before his own. When he asked Bilal, what is it that you're doing that I can hear your footsteps in Jannah before my own? Bilal said, not much. He said, but there's one thing that I do. He said, مَا تَوَضَّعْتُ إِلَّا رَأَيْتُ لِلَّهِ حَقٌّ عَلَيَّ أَنْ أُصَلِّيَ رَكَعَتَيْنِ. He said that I never made wudu, except that I saw that Allah had a right over me while I was in wudu to pray 2 rak'ah. The Prophet ﷺ said, فَبِهِمَا, then it's because of those 2 rak'ah. 2 rak'ah. But it's the consistency, which is number 3. Number 1 was what? You have to be ambitious. If you change nothing, nothing will change. Number 2 is you have to find what is easy for you. Find your niche in the deen. What is easy for somebody else might not be easy for you. Find what is easy for you. There are gates to Jannah. Some people will enter through the gate of Salat. Some people will enter into the gate of fasting. Some people will enter through the gate of Sadaqah. Some people will enter through the gate of Jihad. Fi sabilillah. Abu Bakr asked the Prophet ﷺ, is there anybody that will enter through all of the gates of Jannah? And the Prophet ﷺ said, yes, Abu Bakr. وَأَرْجُ أَن تَكُنَّ مِنْهُمْ. Yes, Abu Bakr, and I hope that you will be from amongst them. So there's some people that can do everything. And then there's some masakin like myself who you find one thing and you stick with that thing. Number 3 is to be consistent. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves consistency. The Prophet ﷺ said, أَحَبُّ أَعْمَالِ إِلَى اللَّهِ أَدْوَمُهَا وَإِنْ قَلَّ. That the most beloved deeds to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala are those deeds that are done with continuity, even if they are small. We're always looking for that aha deed. I'm a sin,
and then I'm going to go make Hajj, right? How about you help somebody? How about you smile in the face of someone? How about you say a kind word? You say a kind word to somebody. All of this is sadaqah. The Prophet ﷺ gave us an example of a prostitute who used to sell her body for money, who saw a dog panting out of thirst, climbed down in a well, put water in the shoe, and carried it up and gave the dog a drink of water. An animal. She did good to an animal and was forgiven. We have cats in front of our house. You guys live in Jersey City. Come on, man. It's alley cats everywhere. I don't know if you necessarily want to feed those, but nonetheless, they're still Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. We're always looking for this aha deed when your Jannah might be right in front of you, starting with your parents. Your mother, Jannah lies at the feet of your mother. Swim. Jannah lies at the feet of your mother, your father, respecting the father. I mean, the continuity and choosing what is easy for you and being ambitious about changing things. Wallahu ta'ala.
To complement that, I would say this is where community is necessary. Because there's a reason why we are in Ummah. There's a reason why we are a community. We exist as a community to help one another. Right? As the Prophet said, he mentioned that the believer, the Muslim, is a mirror of another Muslim. So whatever negativity I see within you is a direct reflection of negativity that I see within myself. And whatever negativity I see within myself, I have an obligation to Allah to remedy it, to improve it. So with that being said, when we see each other fall, and we see each other fall all the time, that's what I meant about being judgmental. Do not be judgmental. Because we have a habit of judging people as opposed to helping people, empowering people. One of the best ways to empower someone is to encourage them that they can always improve. You never remind the person of the sin that they're doing. Don't remind the person of the sinner that they are. Try to give them a picture and imagery of a righteous person that they can be. Just like when the narration about the man from the former generations who killed so many people, when he first came to the Abid, the worshiper, he wasn't given an imagery of the righteous person that he could be. He was reminded of the sinner who he was, and that's why that person was killed. But the alim, the knowledgeable person, didn't remind him of the sinner who he was. He gave him an image, he gave him hope of the righteous person that he could be. That's what we need to do more for each other, individually and communally. The other thing is that we have to provide spaces and places that accommodate goodness, that accommodate righteousness, that accommodate birr and taqwa. Just like Allah says in the Quran, Allah says, وَتَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْبِرِّ وَالتَّقْوَى وَلَا تَعَاوَنُوا عَلَى الْإِثْمِ وَالْعُدْوَانِ. Right? Allah says, enjoin upon one another, encourage one another, impose upon one another goodness and piety, and do not develop camaraderie with one another via sin and enmity. We end up doing the opposite. It's very easy for us, we find it very easy to encourage one another to sin, but we don't take that same energy, if not more energy, to encourage one another to do good. And encouraging someone to do good doesn't mean you bash them. It doesn't mean you remind them that they're a sinner. Just being in the company of a person. Just being in the company of a person can be enough for that person to remind them of where they need to be and where they need to go. Sometimes you don't have to say anything to a person. Sometimes just being in their presence, sometimes just letting someone know that you care about them is enough for them to produce some type of trajectory towards righteousness. And that's what we need to provide with each other with.
Also, just real quick, if anyone was looking for, there are how many Jews in the Quran? 30. How many pages of the Quran make up a Jews? 20 pages. How many salat in a day? 5. 5 goes into 20 how many times?
4 times.
5 goes into 20 how many times?
4 times.
Oh, okay. I thought you said 5. 5 goes into 24 times. That means that if you read 4 pages before or after every salah, by the end of the day, Isha, you will have read a juz a day. You do that for 30 days, you read the whole Quran within a month. Very simple formula. It takes you how long to read 4 pages of Quran? 10 minutes? 15 minutes? 15 minutes before or after every salah. That's a total, 15 times 5 is what? Come on.
75.
75 minutes within a day, right? Allah gave you 24 hours. 1 hour and 15 minutes out of your precious 24 hours to read a whole juz of Quran. It's not a lot. And the Quran actually becomes your companion. You develop a relationship. The scholars say one of the ways that you know that you love Allah is that you love His speech. When you love someone, you want to hear them talk, right? You love someone, you want to hear them talk. Just picture you developed a relationship with a woman and your relationship is through text message only. At some point, can I have your number? I want to hear your voice. I want to talk to you, right? When you love someone, you love their voice, you love their speech, right? This is how people become fanatics about certain speakers. Anywhere the speaker goes, they're going to travel to go hear them because they love that person, so therefore they love to hear that person speak. And the same applies to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. When you love Allah, you love His speech. You develop a relationship with the Quran. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses us to develop a relationship with His book. هذا وصلى الله على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وآخر دعوانا أن الحمد لله رب العالمين والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.